This podcast is supported by the original organic bedding and bath brand, Koyuchi.
Koyuchi has spent 35 years pioneering quality organic textiles, long before the word organic became, trendy. But words matter to Koyuchi. Words like craftsmanship, longevity, and wellness. So what does the word wellness mean to Koyuchi? It means that all of our products are absolutely free from harsh chemicals and dangerous toxins that can seep into your skin. It means effortless style that looks as good as it feels with naturally breathable, pre-washed organic cotton. And what does all of that mean to you? Well, it means that you can sleep well in Koyuchi's crisp, cool, luxuriously soft sheets that are ethically made and made with you in mind. Live well, sleep well with Koyuchi. And now during our Memorial Day sale event, you can enjoy 20% off organic cotton sheets, towels, and everything else at Koyuchi.com. That's Koyuchi.com for 20% off from now until May 25th. Koyuchi.com.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Do you want to find a stress-free way to buy your next car? Start at CarMax and shop your way. And if you want to browse with confidence, get pre-qualified online with no impact on your credit score and shop cars within your budget. From luxury cars to family rides, CarMax has options for almost every price range, including more than 25,000 cars priced under $25,000. So, hey, want to get started? Just head to CarMax.com for details and get pre-qualified today. Want to drive? CarMax.
It's an Olympics you'll never forget. Prime time in Milan. The moments.
Chloe Kim with the gold medal flex.
The stars.
Ilya Malinin.
Out of this world.
The spectacle from beautiful northern Italy with very special guests every night of the Olympics. Experience the world's biggest show. Prime time in Milan. Tonight, 8/7 Central on NBC and Peacock.
Why have I asked my HVAC guy I found on Angie.com to change my grandpa's trachea tube? Because I was so amazed by how quickly he replaced our air ducts. I knew I could trust him to change Pop-Pop's tube while I was on vacation.
Make it quick, young man.
Aw, see? Pop-Pop trusts you.
I think we should call a doctor.
Connecting homeowners with skilled pros for over 30 years. Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find pros for all your home projects at Angie.com.
The big game commercials are basically must-see TV. This year, Elf Cosmetics went all out with an absurdly funny telenovela called Melissa. It stars Melissa McCarthy, Nicholas Gonzalez, Itati Cantoral, and Elf Glow Reviver Lip Oil. The Elf Glow Reviver Lip Oil is an ultra-glossy tinted lip oil that nourishes, hydrates, and enhances your lips' natural color.
Watch the full episode of their new Elf novela on soyunbaño.com.
When it is about what you think are the fundamental values that are at stake, that's where people's emotions start to get higher and where I think it is more difficult to maintain relationships. If you support a 3% state income tax or a 1% state income tax, you're unlikely to cut off your friends over that. If you think that your neighbor believes you should be in prison because of who you love, that is a different kind of problem.
I'm Jeremy Hobson, and this is the follow-up. That's our weekly podcast that you can get only here on the Middle Podcast feed. And by the way, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our Substack newsletter. It is listentothemiddle.substack.com. We are also doing a dollar-for-dollar match right now for your tax-deductible donations to the Middle at listentothemiddle.com. That's thanks to a generous offer from the Tyler Dickman Foundation. So if you love the Middle, which you do, obviously, if you're listening to this, then please consider making a donation today, again, at listentothemiddle.com. Okay, so we just passed Valentine's Day, and for our Valentine's Day episode of The Middle, we decided to ask whether you could be in a relationship with someone who has different politics. We got a lot of responses, so we are going to follow up with that first, and our guest today is our old friend Brian Ellison, host and contributor at KCUR in Kansas City, and also a minister. Hey, Brian.
Always good to be here, Jeremy.
It's great to have you. I want to start off by saying that I love Kansas City. I just love Kansas City. Every time I go there, I love it. I don't know why I love it so much, but it is so pretty. It's nice to walk around. The barbecue is very good.
It's a city of neighborhoods. It's the people. It's got great art, great sports, low cost of living. It's kind of the perfect middle city, I think.
And it's got incredible architecture too. Like there's the old stuff and the really new stuff, like the Kaufman Center for the Performing Arts, which is like just an amazing building. Anyway, that's enough about Kansas City, but I just want to let you know that I love Kansas City.
Well, there's one thing about Kansas Cityans. They love Kansas City. We could talk about it all day.
Okay, good. All right. Well, let's talk about something which has really come up since the very beginning of the show, The Middle, which is talking across party lines, which has become more difficult for a lot of people who just block out those they disagree with, or they block them on social media, or in real life, they cut them out. What's your experience with that in Kansas City? Before we get to the voicemails, what are you seeing there?
Well, I think it is as true here as it is anywhere. We're in a really interesting spot in the Kansas City metro area. The city is basically blue, like a lot of American cities, but it exists in very red states on both sides of the state line, Missouri and Kansas. Both have very Republican supermajorities in both chambers of their legislatures. And the cities on both sides of the state line tend to be more progressive and tend to be sort of chomping at the bit to try to push up against those state policies that keep coming down their way. And that shows in everything from bills about crime or gun laws to redistricting in recent conversations, as you know. And so the politics of Kansas City, I think, are just as polarized and just as divided, even if the city itself maintains a pretty progressive profile.
But you have these suburbs around that are the purple areas where, you know, if it goes one way, it could mean a member of Congress who's a Democrat versus for a Republican. Are the people in those suburbs talking to each other even when they disagree, or do they really segregate?
You know, what I hear from both from elected officials and from like city municipal leaders is that people are not as divided sort of off camera, off microphone as they are when they're in the media. A lot of that is because of the culture of the audience of one phenomenon, the folks who have to say certain things to stay in the good favor of Republican leaders, but Republicans who will quietly speak to Democrats in much more civil and engaging ways. I think that probably goes both ways too. Democrats who are willing to make concessions on tax reductions or on certain issues that the conservative majority in Missouri and Kansas lift up. But publicly, we still are pretty divided. In those suburbs, I think, just like you brought out on your show, I think a lot of the divisions happen on a very personal, one-on-one level between couples, between friends, between neighbors. And I think those have become much harder conversations.
Well, and one of the things that we heard in our conversation on the air, and I'm going to play you a voicemail now that gets to this point, is that, well, it's not about policies. This is about people's morals. I couldn't possibly be in a relationship with somebody who has, you know, a view that this is okay, this, whether it's ICE or whatever is happening, that this is okay. Let's listen here to one of the people who left a message on this topic.
Hi, this is Janet. I'm calling from Wisconsin. I really believe that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are on very different moral grounds, particularly in this day and age. I could absolutely never be involved with a Republican. I'm a yellow dog Democrat. I'll vote for a yellow dog before I vote for a Republican, and I could never be married to somebody who was a Republican. Again, I believe it's moral grounds.
Brian, what do you think about that it's about morals? And I'll say again, you're also a minister. I mean, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a lot of people who feel that way. And I do think that's where the differences are, when it is more than just about being about policy differences, when it is about what you think are the fundamental values that are at stake. That's where people's emotions start to get higher, and where I think it is more difficult to maintain relationships. If you support a 3% state income tax or a 1% state income tax, you're unlikely to cut off your friends over that. If you think that your neighbor believes you should be in prison because of who you have sex with, or because of who you love, that is a different kind of problem and a different way to maintain a relationship. You mentioned that I'm a minister. I think one of the things that's been really interesting, whether we're talking about in Minneapolis with the protests against ICE, or even in just sort of daily conversation around the policies of the Trump administration, is the way that faith leaders have sort of come together to say, we were silent for a lot of years, or we weren't involved in these issues, but we're feeling the need to band together now and speak out and say, particularly among the ones who are opposed to the Trump administration's policies, to say, these things are contrary to our values. There's a picture of what represent people of faith or Judeo-Christian values that is not what we understand our faith to be about. And you're hearing a lot more of that. And so to your caller's point, I really do think that is a strongly held feeling that when it goes beyond just policy differences, but to really what are the core values that these policies represent?
Well, and then I think it really is about what is personal to the person who is thinking about this, in the sense that most people, and I'm just saying this as a journalist, most people, I think, vote on economic issues. They vote on what is in their own self-interest. Now, it could be that their self-interest is they are thinking about their neighbor who is trans, or they are thinking about their neighbor who is an immigrant. That might be in their own self-interest. But it could be that somebody else is thinking, I want my kids to have a better school, and their school is not good, and so I'm going to vote for this party. They're not thinking, oh, if I vote for this party, that means that my morals are bad and that I can't be accepted by these other people. So I think it just gets to this issue of self-interest, whatever that self-interest may be.
Well, and I think the self-interest of the person who is thinking about pushing back against their spouse or partner or their neighbor or friend is also a consideration. You know, I've talked to a number of preachers recently who are really wrestling with, I feel compelled to speak out. I feel compelled to say these things about the policies, but they know that comes with a cost. That risk of alienation, of pushing people away, the challenge of knowing what to say when, and knowing you can't just say the same thing every week. I think there's a real challenge right now for people who had not really thought about what civil dialogue looks like, what it means to have honest disagreements, because everything has become so ratcheted up, and that self-interest causes us to hold back and not say what we might say because we're afraid it might come at too high a cost.
Now, there is another way to look at this, and it's a little less of a choice when it's not about, are you going to date somebody who's got different political views, but that person is actually in your family. The relationship, for example, between a parent and a child when they have different views. Listen to this voicemail.
My name is Kathleen Portman, and I'm listening in St. Louis, Missouri. And my son and I are at complete opposite ends of the political spectrum, and we walk almost every single day and often talk politics on our walk, but at the end of the day, we just agree to disagree, and we never say anything hateful or ugly that, words that can't be put back in the toothpaste tube. I can't let the fracture of the country also fracture my family.
Such an interesting point. Brian, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, good for her that she is able to draw that line and say, my love for my son is stronger than my disagreement with my son. I think the challenge for a lot of people, though, is to say you love me, but if you believe those things, you aren't really loving all of me, or you're not really upholding a way of looking at the world that affirms me. I think that's true of LGBTQ people at times. I think that's true of people of color or folks from immigrant communities. And so I say she is lifting up, I think, an ideal way that people would disagree, but it might also come, I don't know anything about the caller, but it might also come from a place of privilege where neither she nor her son feels marginalized or particularly vulnerable or at risk. And I think that's what we're seeing, especially again around these immigration raids and the things that are happening in Minneapolis. That, I think, seems to express a deeper fear, a deeper sense of identity being attacked that folks are responding to.
The numbers, according to the Pew Research Center, of the amount of people who are in a relationship with somebody with different political views, it's 23% in the United States. Do you think that's high or low?
It's low. I mean, I think it's a low number, but I think it's high compared to my own experience. And the number of people who. So I do have some very good friends who are in one of these mixed relationships. And then I have a bunch of other friends who are also friends with them. And I can't tell you how often the conversation among the other friends is, how do they do that? We don't understand how they can get along. And I've talked with them about this. I think they're, much like your guests said on the show, they have found ways to say, these are the things that really matter. These are the things that we disagree about, but those aren't as important as the things that really matter. The other thing they say, and I really think this goes to kind of the whole central idea of your show in the first place, Jeremy, is that most people are much closer to the middle than today's world would have you think. Mm-hmm. That people in their own lives do not actually find themselves as far to the extremes. And so this couple that I'm talking about will tell you, the one who is more liberal will say to you, I'm actually not as liberal as my friends think I am. And the one who's more conservative will say, yeah, I'm conservative, but I actually am not that conservative in a lot of ways. And I think they have come to understand that about each other in a way that is hard for other people to see.
Well, stand by, because in a minute we're going to follow up on another topic, which is the middle class and the economy, which is, as usual, likely to be the issue heading into the midterm elections this year. We'll be right back with KCUR's Brian Ellison.
It's an Olympics you'll never forget. Prime time in Milan. The moments.
Chloe Kim with the gold medal flex.
The stars.
Ilya Malinin.
Out of this world.
The spectacle from beautiful northern Italy with very special guests every night of the Olympics. Experience the world's biggest show. Prime time in Milan, tonight 8/7 Central on NBC and Peacock.
Why have I asked my electrician I found on Angie.com to bury my pet hamster Nibbles in our yard for me? Because I was so moved by how carefully he buried my electrical wires, I knew I could trust him to bury my sweet Nibbles after his untimely end. Nibbles, gone too soon. May he scurry in peace.
Hey, sorry about your pet, but I just wire stuff.
Nibbles would have loved you like a brother.
Connecting homeowners with skilled pros for over 30 years. Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find pros for all your home projects at Angie.com.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now. You call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose?
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
How do you make chicken nuggets like 7,000% better? Short answer, you let Taco Bell make them. Long answer, start with all white meat chicken nuggets. Bread them in crunchy tortilla chips and serve them with Hidden Valley Diablo Ranch. Yep, that's Hidden Valley Ranch mixed with Taco Bell Diablo sauce. It's exactly what it sounds like, and somehow even better. Simple math, spicy results. Crispy chicken nuggets from Taco Bell. A brand new classic. At participating U.S. Taco Bell locations for a limited time only, while supplies last.
Welcome back to the follow-up. I'm Jeremy Hobson. I'm joined by KCUR host and contributor Brian Ellison. Brian, we recently did a show about what it means to be middle class in 2026 and whether or not it is still achievable. Is there a sense of what middle class looks like in Kansas City, whether that is an income level or just a state of mind?
Yeah, Kansas City for generations really has sort of prided itself on having this low cost of living, these livable neighborhoods. And in the last decade or so, a lot of that conceit has fallen apart. There's a lot of folks talking now about the lack of affordable housing in this city. There are people who are living with rents that are simply not achievable in the long term, or that are preventing them from living any concept of the American dream, or moving past that point to a more comfortable suburban lifestyle. In Kansas City, in my experience, the middle class really struggles. There certainly is a comfortable upper middle class, or folks who have made it and who can enjoy some of those benefits of a city where the housing prices are not as high as in some larger cities. But I think there still are a lot of folks who don't really see a way to live a truly comfortable life here, even though they might be regarded as middle class because of the work they do or the company they keep.
Listen to this voicemail that came in from one of our listeners.
Chris Hartbarger from Asheville, North Carolina. Decades of wages not matching inflation meant decades without the accumulation of wealth for middle class parents, for their children, and so forth. I'm 64. When I was 24, I had an average job. I could afford a nice apartment, a decent car, even a motorcycle. I could goof off if I wanted to. I could be generous with friends and family. I might even have a paycheck in my wallet that I hadn't had a chance to deposit. My children are coming up on 30 years old, and they have to hump it and hustle to try and make ends meet.
I don't remember the last time I had a paycheck in my wallet that I didn't have time to deposit. It's always nice to deposit the paycheck, but it's an interesting point, especially when you think about younger Americans right now and how much they struggle to keep up with things, with the cost of not just education, and maybe they have a lot of student loans, but buying a home and just affording all kinds of things right now.
Right. I mean, a lot depends on what you're looking for out of life, right? I mean, there is sort of this generational shift in what makes for a comfortable life. Nobody expects to work the same job for 40 years anymore. Nobody expects to simply to buy a house in their mid-20s and live in it for 30 years. That isn't really what people are entering into life with now. At the same time, that scene that your caller describes of having to work and work and work all the time just to make it, not having time to deposit a paycheck, I hear that a lot. And, I see it among my younger colleagues and friends who they want a different life than that one. It's not just that their personalities or their generational leanings are such that they like the gig economy and they like the flexibility. They would like to be more comfortable and not worry about some of these things in the long term.
How does the economy feel in Kansas City right now?
I think it has ups and downs. I think a lot of the big companies that used to have their headquarters in Kansas City have moved those to other cities, or they've been acquired by other companies. Our biggest employer is still the federal government. So the shutdowns that have happened over the past year and the layoffs have had a pretty significant toll here. I don't think we are hurtling toward abject poverty as the overall mood of the region, but I do think folks are not feeling particularly positive about the economy in this moment.
Well, let's listen to one more voicemail that takes a slightly different approach to what we're talking about here.
Hi, my name's Ken. I'm calling from Yardley. I think people have it tough. Don't get me wrong. They do. But some of it is perception. My dad grew up in the Depression. He said they used salt on their oatmeal because sugar cost a lot. They ate large sandwiches. He never sounded like they were poor. It's just a different perception. I don't think nowadays anybody's living like the Depression was. And all I'm saying is you can come out of an economic situation and call it something very, very different. It is what it is. Make the best of it.
Yardley, by the way, is in Pennsylvania, but this gets to something that the economist Justin Wolfer said on our show, which is, as bad as things might seem, we are still so rich compared to just about everyone else in the history of the world right now.
Yeah, that is absolutely true. There's no denying that even with the income gap that exists in America, and there's no question it exists, we are still wealthier than the vast majority of the world. Having said that, I think we need to listen to people and actually hear their experiences. And it isn't really the role of the person who is comfortable or who has made it through their own generation's struggles, but now is on the other side. It isn't really up to them, or I should even say up to us, to define the experience of the current rising generation. I do see ways that the current younger generation, those who are just getting into the job market, are entering into this at a time that feels much more uncertain about the future, politically, economically, just in terms of social structures and the institutions that previously gave you meaning and comfort, even apart from government and financial stability. And so,
not to mention artificial intelligence.
Right. There's so much we don't know about the future that I don't blame a younger generation or a new professional or someone who's just trying to get a job in the marketplace for feeling like this is a rough time. And I'd be hesitant to shake my finger at them too strongly for not looking up and hoping for the best.
Absolutely. And by the way, this is one of the things where I am so proud that this show airs on public radio, because it is one of the last media operations that is free to listen to, which means that we get people of all different income levels, which means that every time that we do a show about the economy and how people are feeling, we hear from people at the very bottom of the income ladder, which are people who would not be paying for a subscription to a streaming channel or something like that, or even cable, or Sirius XM. But we hear them because they can listen. Anybody can listen. And I think that that's a really important part of the fact that this show, yes, it's a podcast, but we're also on public radio.
Yeah, and that's a really good thing for those of us who work in public radio to be mindful of. That, I think we spend a lot of our time, you do too, Jeremy, trying to reach out to wealthy donors to keep this program on the air, and that's all. Yeah. That's part of the job. But the reason we're doing it, the reason it is a public service, the reason it is of benefit to the community is the fact that it serves people who don't fall into that demographic and who wouldn't have access to this kind of news and information any other way.
All right, Brian, the final thing that you get to do is make a prediction about anything that you want right now. So
you realize that the open-ended nature of this question makes it much more difficult to answer.
Okay.
So I'm going back to my comfort zone for predictions, which is baseball. Spring training is underway. Pitchers and catchers have reported. The full team shows up this week. I am here to tell you, Jeremy, that the Kansas City Royals are going to make a return this year. They got up to being actual playoff contenders last year. I think they're going to make the postseason and be real contenders for the American League Championship. Mark my words.
How many of the games are you going to be going to, Brian?
I am a fan, and of course that is a little controversial now because we've had we could talk another time about the controversy over where the stadium should be located. In coming years.
Because they want to move it to Kansas, right?
Well, the Chiefs have moved the football stadium to Kansas. There is talk about Kansas. There's talk about areas north of the river in Kansas City. There's talk about a downtown stadium. We don't know where it's going to end up, but I'm a fan of the baseball, and I will probably go to 15 or 20 games this year if I can get there. So.
That's great. Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Brian Ellison, host and contributor at KCUR in Kansas City. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Jeremy.
And thanks to you for listening to The Follow-Up. It was produced by Harrison Patino. We are on Substack. Listen to themiddle.substack.com. I'm Jeremy Hobson. Talk to you soon.
Owning a home is full of surprises. Some wonderful, some not so much. And when something breaks, it can feel like the whole day unravels. That's why HomeServe exists. For as little as $4.99 a month, you'll always have someone to call. A trusted professional ready to help, bringing peace of mind to 4.5 million homeowners nationwide. For plans starting at just $4.99 a month, go to homeserve.com. That's homeserve.com. Not available everywhere. Most plans range between $4.99 to $11.99 a month your first year. Terms apply on covered repairs.
Ever wonder why so many people regain weight after stopping a GLP-1? Up to 40% of the weight lost can come from lean muscle. This weakens the body, slows metabolism, and makes it easier to put the pounds back on, creating a cycle of dependency. Prolon's 5-day fasting-mimicking diet offers a drug-free way to maintain results and support long-term metabolic health. In just 5 days, it activates fasting pathways to burn fat, protect muscle, and rejuvenate cells, all while letting you enjoy real food. Get 15% off plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe at prolonlife.com/iHeart. That's prolonlife.com/iHeart.
You see it instantly. It's Coldwater Creek, the mark of exceptional workmanship and signature touches inspired by a Mountain West heritage. Distinctive styles created from quality fabrics, silhouettes perfected with just the right drape, feel-good fits offering ease of movement, and thoughtful details to elevate your look. Coldwater Creek's authenticity is embodied in every piece, embracing its confident spirit that carries through to today. Discover Coldwater Creek clothing, designed to fit your life the way you want. For a wardrobe you can count on season after season, visit coldwatercreek.com. Shop the new spring collection at 20% off $75 or more with code IHEART20.
Over the last couple years, didn't we learn that the folding chair was invented by Black people because of what happened in Alabama?
The Montgomery Brawl.
This Black History Month, the podcast Selective Ignorance with Mandy B unpacks Black history and culture with comedy, clarity, and conversations that shake the status quo. The Crown Act in New York was signed in July of 2019, and that is a bill that was passed to prohibit discrimination based on hairstyles associated with race. To hear this and more, listen to Selective Ignorance with Mandy B from the Black Effect Podcast Network on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.